Hello, my name is Lorraine and welcome. Thank you for joining me today as we have a chat about things that I still use that are kind of old-fashioned and things that have been in my life for many, many years that I just keep using and they work for me. Before we get into all that, our life has been changed so much by technology, and I have to say I have embraced it quite a bit, although I didn't have an Android phone until 2017. Until then, for the previous, I think about 10 years, I had a flip phone, which served my needs very well at the time. But, in a world where we are turning on the lights and turning on the furnace with a switch on our phone, and it's just unbelievable all the things that are automated. But before we get into that, of course, I want to share with you my SOTD, my scent of the day, which is Sophia by Sofia Vergara. And this one I learned about from Maria Collette. Thank you, Maria. This is beautiful. This is a amber floral that was released in 2014. It has notes of blackberry, plum, currant, orchid, violet, sandalwood, rose, woody notes, and vanilla. This perfume has been compared to Coco Mademoiselle. Some people think that it reminds them of Coco Mademoiselle. I haven't found that myself, but it is rich and luxurious, and it's my scent of the day. So we're going to start. I have a list of things, and I have few things to show you, and some of the things that I do use I'm not showing you, but some of them I will. And the first one on the list is a home phone, a landline. Now, I think it is really important for older people, especially people who have chronic health problems or mobility problems, to have a landline as well as a cell phone. If something happens to the cell phone, if you drop it in the bathtub, or I don't know, if something happens to it, you don't want to be left without any means of reaching out to anybody. Whereas if you have a landline, you would have the alternative, and you'd be able to use this if you needed some help or to communicate with somebody. And I just think that I know it costs a little bit more to have the two phones going, but for me, it is well worth it for the security. Another thing that I wear, and I really have not been using this next item for all my life. I used it as a child because we all did. We all wore undershirts. But a friend of mine a few years ago told me that in the winter, here in Canada, where it is cold, she always wears an undershirt. And I thought, well, what a good idea. So look what I've started wearing in the last few years. I love this undershirt. Now, this is from Amazon. It comes in a 2-pack. You can get a combination of colors. I think they're about $10 each. They certainly have cotton in them. They wash and dry like a rag. And I have just found that these have made my winters much more comfortable using an undershirt. The next thing that I've been using all these years is a paper phone book. I know people have their contacts in their phone and all that, but I like to use just a regular address book where I can put the address, and I can write it in my own handwriting. I can put in my friend's birthday if I want to. I can put in more than one phone number. I've had this book, I think, for about 15 years. I think I got it at Winners. And this is the type that you can, you can remove the pages or you can rewrite them. And I've done that a few times. But I like my paper phone book. I just keep using it. And I also use a wall calendar. I don't use the calendar on my phone. I like to put my activities on a wall calendar. And I actually use little stickers as well to, just a sec, I'll show them to you. I've been doing this for years, and I mean like about 40 years. I love these little stickers. And you can get these anywhere. You can get them online, or you can get them in a card shop or something. And certainly when the kids were small, there would be little stickers that have to do with school activities or anything, or appointments, but I just love using these, and I just put them on those little squares in my wall calendar, and that's how I keep track of all my activities. So no, I don't use the calendar in my phone. Another thing that I use is recipe cards. Now, I also have a few recipe books. These are the cards. I have 2 sets, a Hershey's one and Better Homes and Gardens. And I think we all know this one. And I have the book of this one as well. And I just love these cards. I mean, I like the picture. I like the idea of just taking it out and just propping it against the sugar bowl on my table when I'm making something. There's one for deviled eggs, a nice picture, and everything just clearly spelled out. So I really love my cards. And I have to say, the Hershey ones, wow, it just has, this one is a tin, actually. Look at that. It's just gorgeous. I just love it. So I get a big kick out of that. Every now and then I will have a recipe on my laptop, and I will be following that. But I have a small kitchen, and so I find it difficult to bring my laptop into the kitchen and have a place. So I'm going from the kitchen to my dining room table, looking at the recipe. So it's really not as convenient as just having a little card in the kitchen with me to follow the recipe. So that's what I still use as well. And I also use Christmas cards. For a while, I was sending e-cards on special occasions, and I still do, maybe for friends' birthdays or whatever. But I do like to use Christmas cards for some people. And I actually purchased a couple of years ago this box of assorted birthday cards. These are kind of generic. These are 4 different styles. You can get different types of these. And it's very handy. I mean, I guess the ideal is to know that somebody's birthday is coming and go out specifically buy a card for that individual. But if you don't have time or you've forgotten, you can send, you have some cards handy that you can send a birthday card. So I like birthday cards. And, everybody likes to get a little card in the mail, right? Another thing that I still use is a photo album, but I don't really use the old-fashioned one. What I've discovered is my past book, and this is from Facebook. Now, this, you probably know about this. You can ask for a year's worth of pictures. You can select the very pictures that you want, the number, the exact pictures that you want, and they will make you this beautiful book. And I did this one, I can't remember what year this is now. 2020. Let me see if I can find this. Anyway, it doesn't matter, but I mean, you could do this, every year if you wanted to. It's a little pricey, I must say, but it is a way to keep all those photos in your computer and to have a paper copy of them. And I really enjoy the past book by Facebook. Another thing that I use is bar soap. This little one is honey and milk. And I think I bought this from AliExpress. You can get all kinds of beautiful bar soap. Some of them are just very expensive and beautifully fragrant, have lovely ingredients in them. Or you can get just very plain ones. You can get ivory or dial or any kind you like. And I use this instead of a liquid soap at my bathroom sink to wash my hands after going to the washroom. And a few years ago, my niece was visiting me, and she was using the washroom, and she went to wash her hands. She had never seen a bar of soap because in her home, all they ever had was the liquid soap. So I just thought that was just a sign of the times when a child doesn't know what a bar of soap is. But I like to use a bar of soap, and I even sometimes use it for my shower. Another thing that I realized, because I had kind of forgotten about it because it's just sitting in my closet, in my kitchen cupboard, is this Lazy Susan. See if I can pick it up. Do you remember this? This is by Rubbermaid, and it's just a cheap plastic. I swear I have had this for 40, if not 50 years, and that is no lie. Honestly. So you see it's, well, I can't show you, but it swings around, and I keep all my spices on there and keep it in my kitchen cupboard. So when I open the cupboard, all I have to do is swing it around and reach for the item that I'm looking for. You know what? It works just fine. They still make them. Rubbermaid still makes Lazy Susans, but they're not exactly the same. They have a non-stick top on them, but hey, this one works just fine, and I'm sure I will keep this for the rest of my life. And speaking of cooking and baking, or not speaking of baking, I like homemade baking, really. To me, nothing that you buy in the grocery store or at even a fancy bakery, I just don't find it's ever as good as homemade, whether it be a cake or a pie or squares or brownies or whatever. You just cannot beat homemade baking. It's just not worth the calories unless it's homemade. So I would rather bake than cook any day. And every time there's a birthday in my family, I make the cake. Now, I have to admit that sometimes I use a cake mix, and they're pretty good too. But the homemade icing just does it for me. So there's nothing like homemade baking, and that's what I like to do. And that's what I like to eat, because otherwise it's just not worth it. Another thing that I use too all the time, and a lot of people use their phone for this, is for an alarm. I use an old-fashioned clock radio. The clock radio I have, I think it's a GE, and I've had it for, I'm sure, more than 20 years. Really, it's unbelievable. But you know what? It works just great, and I use it, and I listen to that radio every day in my bedroom, so I really enjoy my clock radio. What I still do also is I wear a watch. I have so many watches. I probably have about, I think I have probably about 15 watches. Now, a friend of mine has more than that. She collects them. And I have to admit that until a few years ago, I wore a watch just about every time I went out. But when COVID hit and we were not going out, what happened was all my watches, the batteries ran down. So to go out and replace batteries for 15 watches is quite costly. And the thing is, if I remembered to take the pin out, right? If I took the pin out every time I wore it, no worries, but I wouldn't remember. So I haven't been wearing a watch that much lately. And I may actually be maybe giving them to other people who would appreciate them. But on the other hand, because I'll have to just decide which ones I'm going to wear, buy a few batteries and make sure I wear them and take that pin out. But I do enjoy watches because they're like a piece of jewelry. Look at this red one. I just love this red watch. I always loved it. And you know, I've never read a Kindle book in my life too, and ebooks and all that. And a lot of people do that and enjoy it very much. But I like old-fashioned books, and that's how I read my books. And finally, a lot of people play games on the computer. Now, I have to admit, for that program Lumosity, there's one game on there that I love, that train game. And whenever that comes up because it comes up every day, they give you a few free games. And I am not going to pay for a membership because I know myself, because I know that I would get addicted to these games, but especially that train game. And so every now and then it'll come up, and boy, do I ever enjoy that. But the games that I do like to play are with my friends. We have a games night, and we've been playing Pictionary and Monopoly and even cards, old-fashioned cards. So those are some of the old-fashioned things that I still use and enjoy in my life. They enrich my life and just make my life easy and pleasant. And I thank you very much for joining me today. Let me know what old things you hang on to and that you've had in your life for a long time and that you just intend to keep on using. So thank you once again for being with me, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.